Hello and welcome to the Running Channel podcast. This is our very first podcast, so please be kind. Each week we're going to be tackling one big topic in the world of running, as well as answering your questions, plus discussing our news and views on running. And we're going to be coming to your ears every single week, and also once a month we'll be doing a special episode for YouTube too. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Andy.
Should we get into it?
Well, this is very exciting. Have you podcasted before?
I mean, I did a very, very bad one at uni, but I don't think anyone needs to go and find that.
I think we should dig that out. So if anyone is listening can dig out Sarah Hartley at university on a podcast, that would be amazing.
I'm not telling you what it's called.
Okay.
But like this one, you can get it wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, okay,
That's
brilliant.
your challenge. What about you? Have you podcasted before?
Not in this way, not where I'm the one that's got to come up with all the stuff to talk about. I've had people ask me questions, so I've been very generously invited on other people's podcasts, but now we get to do our own one, which is really exciting.
A little bit scary, so I'm glad that we've got someone who kind of knows what he's doing over in the corner. Rick, how are you getting on?
Well, I'm figuring out the buttons, including I've just worked out that I can make you, Sarah, sound like a small robot, and Andy, I can make you sound like a large monster.
I mean, that's how everyone describes me at work anyway.
Yeah.
And you're pushing all the buttons over there, just like you push my buttons every day.
Yeah, I'm proud to.
Brilliant. We should do an introduction.
Yes, we should. So for those of you who don't know Andy, who are you? What do you
you're
do?
introducing me.
Yeah.
So no, I used to run a lot. So before the Running Channel, which I co-founded about 4 years ago, I was lucky enough to live a life as a professional athlete. So I ran in the Beijing Olympics in 2008 and the London Olympics in 2012, both over 1,500 meters. Got injured a lot, and then also ended up retiring through injury, and then wanted to try to help people. And that's what we're trying to do at the Running Channel.
You're also missing out your arguably greatest achievement, which is still being the parkrun world record holder.
Yeah, at the point of recording, I'm clinging on to that. And actually, you're right. Ultimately, we joked about calling this podcast "No One Gives a Shit About the Olympics," because
I don't even think people would listen if it's got the word Olympics
yeah.
on it.
Yeah. We just the difference being that the Olympics is this thing that's totally out of reach, and it's an amazing thing to watch on the TV. Whereas parkrun, regardless of what time you've run, you know that someone showed up at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, ran 5K on a similar course to you. There's no kind of special measures that mean you have to qualify or anything like that. So everyone experiences the same thing.
And just to make everyone feel a little bit sick, what time did you run?
That was 13:48 in what feels like a former life.
Absolutely disgusting. So Andy is your out of reach, speedy person.
Thanks.
I, on the other hand, I would still hopefully describe myself as your average runner. I started running at uni, loved it, found it as something that I'd never experienced before. It was a great way of just getting out, improving how I felt day to day, and I'm still kind of there. I still use it for that. I'm trying to get a little bit better. Andy has paced me to many a disgusting PB.
Yeah, you don't enjoy that though, do you? You just shout
No.
at me whilst I'm shouting at you.
Yeah, my favourite type of run is probably still a nice park run, chatting to other people. But I
Yeah.
am finding it interesting of how you push boundaries, how you get better, the kind of little marginal gains that I'm now kind of making, because when you start running, you can improve really, really quickly. And then if you want to keep getting better, you just have to keep chipping away.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to talk about that a little bit today. But actually, it's worth saying that, when you joined the Running Channel, which is 3 years ago now, you hadn't done any of these things. So I guess just a quick list, because you're almost too modest to mention it. A couple of marathons, ultra marathons, taking on all of those like really long distances, which potentially felt a little bit out of reach when you did join.
Yeah, you name it, Andy has signed me up for it.
Oh yeah, I get the blame for this.
I have to do it.
Yeah.
No,
Brilliant.
it's good. It's kept me accountable. It's kept me running. And I guess we should take it back to basics though, because that is what this episode is going to be about. Our first big topic that we wanted to tackle is how to run a faster 5K, which is usually where kind of everyone starts. My introduction to running was, can I run 5K? Answer, no. But then I kind of built up from there.
Yeah, a lot of people come in through the Couch to 5K app or training program, which helps you to build up from not being able to even cover the distance to then comfortably running 5K. And then people might progress to 10K half marathons and even further, but there's always a desire from a lot of people that we speak to work out, well, how could I get faster at 5K? So that could be they've just run 5K for the first time and now they're like, what could I do properly to see if I could get a little bit quicker? Or it could be someone who's covered all of the distances, is a really experienced runner, but has reached a kind of plateau in their running and doesn't know how that they could improve even by a few seconds. Whereas like you said, when you first start out running, you can improve by a big chunk of minutes at a time every time you do it, just by doing a little bit more running every week.
Yeah, I went from my first ever attempt at a 5K. I definitely should have. I didn't know about couch to 5K, so me and a mate just set off, and we weren't going to stop until we got to 5K, which I wouldn't recommend. It took us 45 minutes of walking, crying, running a little bit.
Yeah. Sense of achievement there, right?
Yeah, it was amazing.
I thought you were going to say 45 hours then for a moment.
Yeah, we were there for days. but we got through it. But no, we got to the end, and then but very quickly, once you put 2 and 2 together of what running should feel like, how instantly at the start it does feel like you are about to die, but that's kind of semi-normal when you are doing stuff. You can get I very quickly went from 45 minutes to 30 and then started chipping away. But my question is, as a very, very experienced runner, what is your one biggest piece of advice if someone wants to get faster over 5K?
Oh, I don't know whether I can kind of dilute it into one, but I'm going to start by asking you whether you feel like you've hit your red line in your 5Ks. I know the answer to this.
No.
No, I think you, well.
Probably... Yes.
I've watched your pacing, and
yeah,
there we go. She knows what
I
I'm getting at now.
haven't hit it well.
It was a leading question to which I didn't get the answer I was expecting. But ultimately, I've watched you crash and burn after 2 or 3 minutes in a 5K because you've gone so hard and actually found your limits so early.
Yeah.
But
I thought you meant find the red line effectively.
Oh no, yes, I've not seen you do that.
No, still not there.
But that's the key. I think if I was to give one piece of advice, it's finding where your pace is. And loads of people will come to me after I've watched them run a 5K, at the end of a park when I'll see them coming in at the finish, and they'll say, I have no idea how I could run faster. Like, I'm at my absolute minute. Every week I run 27 minutes, or every week I run 22 minutes, or every week I run 35 minutes, whatever it might be. But I just can't get any faster. There's no way that I could try harder. And I'll say, well, there is, because I was watching you there and I think you looked like you're about 80% in terms of being, if your red line is 100%, where you're completely spent at the end. It's really hard, particularly over something like 5K, to push yourself to your absolute max. Yeah. And it's very hard over the marathon to find your red line because the risks are so great to bonking, to hitting your wall and not finishing, or catastrophically losing time. Whereas in the 5K, you're always going to be able to slow down a little bit and then finish. So actually, my advice to people would be to push a little bit harder to find where that red line is. And that's where training comes in. So the key in training for 5K is to train either side of the distance, to dial in that pace, but to have variety. So I'm sure you've told me before what you used to do when you used to go out running. You used to run everything at one pace, right? Yeah,
I used to I think because 5K as well is a lot of people consider 5K as that's the smallest run I will do. So if I want to get better over 5K, I will just continue running that distance and just push. But that's absolutely not the case. Like if you're going out, a 4K run is totally okay.
Yeah, you can run any distance you want, run short, run long, but ultimately the key is variety. So you need to run slightly faster than your 5K pace just to know what that feels like. Yeah. And then when you're doing a race or an event like parkrun, which isn't a race, it's a run, of course, you're racing against yourself. You're trying to see how much better you could get. But you need to know what it feels like. So you need to know in the first 2 or 3 minutes, oh no, I've gone too fast here, to be able to back off, rather than just keep pushing to 10 minutes or so and then just have nowhere to go. But at the same time, you need to have experienced it in some kind of training so that when you're out there, you can run hard enough and not finish thinking, you know what, I could go faster next time. And that just happens every time unless you actually dig deep enough to find out at least once. Yeah,
my biggest piece of advice is if you're quite a lot of people get stuck around like 27:30, which is 5:30 per kilometre pace. Yeah. If you're there and you want to break 27, then work out what that pace is and then try and do 5 by a K as a running session. So stick to that pace, run 1K at it, then take like 1 to 2 minutes recovery. That could be jogging, walking, stopping if you have to, but preferably keep moving. Yeah. And that way you're hitting that pace, you're training your body to run at that pace, which is so much better than just trying to hit that pace in your next park run and then potentially bonk before you get to the end.
Yeah, you're chunking it, right? You're breaking it up, the 5K distance, into 1K efforts, and then you could end up shortening the recovery. So you start with the recovery as long as you want, see what pace you can hit, and then that'll give you the confidence that if you can do 5 of them at that pace with a relatively short recovery, maybe even as you get a bit more experience, look to do 6. So you've done slightly more distance, but you've got the recoveries in between, which are allowing you to get a little bit of rest. Whereas obviously when you're on 5K flat out, you don't get to stop. And ultimately that's the key to interval training, is you're breaking up the distance that you want to run, or a key distance, whether that's, you might be training for half marathon, but only doing 10K in a training session.
Chunking it. I've not heard of that before.
Yeah, chopping it up into chunks.
Chunking. Yeah, I'm going to use that.
You're going to use that in every day.
I'm going to chunk everything in my life from now on.
What are you doing today, Rick?
Chunking it.
Is that your approach to producing the podcast?
I'm pushing buttons.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Our official merch will be dropping soon. Just chunk it.
But yeah, I think that's like if you've got something unachievable, we're talking about 5K now, but it might be that you're trying to attack a longer distance, then yeah, just breaking it up into manageable things that you can take on each week. So you're not trying to do everything all at once. And the key is, we're talking about interval training here, but if you've just started running, you want to run a faster 5K, just do a little bit more running and be sensible about how you build up into it.
Yeah, and it's not going to come all at once. That is what a lot of people have said to me is the most frustrating thing about running, is that it does take time.
Yeah.
Like there are some hacks, there are some shortcuts, but ultimately if you want to sustainably get faster, you got to put the work in.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, we should just quickly give Rick an honourable mention. He is building up to being able to run that kind of distance again, 5K, after like a pretty emotional journey in the last couple of years where he couldn't run at all and got told he never might.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, but you know, I'm back in the game and hopefully planning to do a parkrun actually this weekend, which would be pretty amazing.
Oh, stay tuned. Rick's first ever 5K in 2 or 3 years and multiple surgeries.
Yeah. You know what? Because of the pandemic, I actually haven't done a parkrun for 3 years, 2 years out, and then 1 year of parkrun not being on. So hopefully back at it.
Well, yeah, so come back next time to find out how Rick got on. That's definitely something to keep our eye on. Like we're rooting for you. I know that we had some amazing comments from the running channel community who've been really supportive of that journey. So yeah, ultimately, I don't know what I was going to say there. Probably have to cut that out.
Just chunk it.
Chunk it.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Okay, so it's question time soon, but before we get to that, we'll be answering any questions that you send in to podcasts@therunningchannel.com. First of all, every week we're going to bring a new story that has caught our attention, all about running. So first off, what have you got for us, Sarah?
I have such an exciting one. This isn't necessarily making BBC front page. Other news sources are available. It should do. But I've been glued to this the whole time. The spine race.
Yes, it's a terrifying spectacle. Yeah, I mean, what I saw was the image of someone who'd clearly been awake for a long time, covered in icicles all over their face. Yeah. Which, you know, that's not my kind of running, I don't think. It's
epic. So it's a 268-mile non-stop ultramarathon across the Pennine Way. So basically from like Manchester up to Northumberland.
That's just an unimaginable distance to run. Like I'm looking up here thinking, that's so far.
If you can't quite fathom what that is, then these numbers kind of make it a little bit more. So the first people have just come in as of last night / this morning. So
we're recording this on a Thursday. So when did they start?
So they started on Sunday. Okay. So Damien Hall and Jack Scott actually crossed the line together, but Jack Scott, which I was like, cute, they finished together. Then I did some more reading, and Jack Scott actually got a time penalty because he navigated wrong and ended up taking a shortcut, which is even more brutal because they'd both been running for 84 hours and 36 minutes. So with his time penalty, Jack Scott's turned into 85 and 16. And then the first female's coming now as well, Claire Banwarth, who's done it in 97 hours and 39 minutes.
So my only point of reference here is the times when I've been sleep deprived, but I haven't even been running. I've just been sleep deprived through children waking me up. And then I wake up in the morning and I pour orange juice on my cornflakes.
And you've got a lot of kids.
I have got far too many children, as Rick likes to tell me. Thanks very much, mate.
That makes it sound like you've got like 12.
Three.
Counting.
Three is plenty.
Yeah, your family car is a coach.
Unlike...
It actually is. Have you seen it?
I do have. Yeah, basically
he has got a coach.
Basically have a minibus.
What normal people go on school trips on, Andy goes to Asda on.
Incredible. Thanks, Rick.
It's like the Von Trapp family.
Yeah, unlike Rick, I haven't named all of my children after royalty, but... Yeah.
Hey, you see my t-shirt?
Yes, Her Majesty. Her Majesty is dedicated on Rick's sweatshirt today.
Incredible. Back to the runners.
Sorry, yeah.
These people have been through such tough conditions. Like I think I read Damien Hall came into a checkpoint and they had to melt his shoes off his feet because they were snowed shut.
That's Yeah, I mean, Damien Hall's incredible. I love him for loads of different reasons. Like, I think what he's taking on there, he's, you know, one of the UK's greatest ever ultra runners. But also, he's done some amazing things where he's run staggering distances whilst also tidying up the planet, saving the world by plogging. So he's been picking up litter as he goes.
And we've got his book on our shelf.
Yeah, you beat me to it.
We can't run away from this.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, we can't run away from this. Couldn't be more apt to taking on some kind of 85-hour challenge, which is unimaginable.
Absolutely incredible. And he got the male course record as well. Although I love this about ultra running, the actual like overall course record is held by a female.
Oh, magic! Yeah, I love that about ultra running. It's like it's a genuine leveler, and there's loads of science out there about various different kind of energy systems and the physiology and genetics of kind of male versus females and how they level out as you get longer and longer, essentially. And when it becomes as much a mental test as it is a physical test and something like that. That's
absolutely brutal. So should we sign you up next year?
Absolutely not.
No?
Absolutely not. No.
I just don't get it.
Rick,
I'm sorry. I respect ultra runners, but I just don't get it. I would not put my body through that. It just sounds like a really bad idea. But you know, start slow, build up, and never get there.
Yeah, but you've got like half a kind of science experiment in your knee, so
but it's not really my own leg anymore.
No, exactly. It's like Trigger's broom on Only Fools and Horses.
I'm too young for that reference.
Brilliant. Oh no, yeah. I mean, that's
so am I. It's only Andy.
It's all right. We've got Grandad in the corner.
Nice topical 80s and 90s reference for everyone listening. Okay, brilliant. Well,
do you want to do your news
yes,
story?
let's, before I get further
embarrassed. Did you get it from a little slate that someone had carved out in chalk?
That's right, actually, yes. It was just, I got no comeback to that. Yes, exactly that. It was just handed to me on a papyrus scroll.
In your brain a little bit.
Yeah, it's in hieroglyphics. So no, my news story is about a lady called Rachel and her daughter Eva, who is 2, who actually just set a world record for running 10K with a buggy, so pushing a buggy. And 2's not small, like a 2-year-old child, as I know, I've got so many children, is pretty heavy. So pushing someone along for 10K, I guess what sort of pace do you think they might have run to set the world record?
Well, I'm guessing, so running with a buggy isn't going to be like running with a dog, where a dog can pull you faster.
Oh yeah, this is definitely not a benefit.
This is a hindrance, although I'm sure Ava's lovely. I'm going to go...
Is it a proper buggy?
I mean...
As in a running buggy?
The time that she has achieved, I haven't actually seen the photographs, but it must have been a pretty streamlined running buggy.
Yeah, it's got like rockets on the back.
Yeah, it's not like your one that you take around the supermarket with the wheels that twizzle at the front and stuff.
I mean, that would be an achievement.
Yeah,
that would be epic.
Okay, Rick's next challenge. Yeah,
I'm gonna go 39 minutes.
Nice. And Rick?
I'm gonna go 43.
43 minutes. You don't think it's possible to go as fast as Sarah reckons?
No.
The buggy. You've ever been overtaken by anyone in a buggy?
No, but I was once overtaken by someone dressed as Jesus Christ with the crucifixion on their back.
Wow. Okay, that's this has taken a strange turn. Let's bring this back to the back to the news at hand.
Not on parkrun.
Okay.
I've been overtaken by a buggy many a time.
Yeah, I have as well. Actually, at parkrun. Yeah, there are some people out there that
rapid.
Yes, very quick. So the time that Rachel managed with daughter Eva was 39 minutes and 24 seconds. Look at this. That's a very smug face because that was an incredible guess. But yeah, at the Alderley Edge bypass 10K, she runs for Sale Harriers. It's amazingly quick, and she did get special permission from the race organisers because obviously, you don't want to be tripping anyone up with a buggy and all sorts of safety stuff. But I think I just think that's an incredible, like sub 40 minutes pushing a buggy is some achievement.
Yeah, that's rapid. What's your 10K at the moment?
At the moment, I don't know, 36 minutes something. So
how old's your youngest child?
2. Miles is 2.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure we need to dig out the men's world record. I should have done better research for the podcast to find out what the men's world record.
Well, I mean, at least if you want to see Andy taking on the challenge of beating this record with a buggy, we'll stick Miles in the buggy, get you out on a course. We can do that. Email in podcast@therunningchannel.com and Andy will take it on. He is buzzing, absolutely buzzing to take this on.
Absolutely stitched myself up, haven't I?
You really have.
Yeah, Miles would love it though. Like it would be quite a cool bonding experience, but it would be hard work. At least I wouldn't have to hold a camera. Maybe we could strap it to.
It's only because he's sick of you taking him on the coach everywhere.
Yeah,
he'll be like fresh air.
Oh my god, I feel like I've been done totally handed one here. Okay,
I have one other question for this news story.
Yeah.
How many turns were there in this race?
Oh, let me consult my encyclopedic knowledge of UK-based running 10Ks. I've got no idea.
Well, obviously that's going to make it harder, isn't it? If there are like 45 turns, fair play. If it's a straight line, point to point.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't trust my little one to be steering. So, and yeah, you can. I mean, when I've seen people doing it, they are holding it with one hand because you're running so fast, you can't really run properly with holding it with two hands. But
I bet though, with a buggy, you can take racing turns. Like at Berlin Marathon, the most precise route, fastest route around the course is marked out with a blue line. Yeah, I bet she was.
Yeah. I'd enjoy the blue line following, I think.
Yeah.
It'd give me something to focus on whilst I was in horrific pain thinking, why am I doing this for the running channel? All right, I guess that's our news stories wrapped up. So now it's on to question time.
So every episode we are going to be picking a few of your questions to answer. If you want your question to be answered, then please do email into podcast@therunningchannel.com. Rick, what have we got this week?
Okay, so the first one this week is from Amy in Newcastle, and she asks, can you work on speed and distance simultaneously, or do you need to focus on one at a time?
Ooh. Andy?
Oh man, we've picked. Thanks, Rick. That's a tough one to go straight in with because it's like there's so many different layers to it. Okay, try and give a concise answer. I think it depends on the stage in your running career. So if you've run your first 5K and then you're looking to run a 10K, it's likely through doing more running in order to run a little bit further that you'll also get faster. So then you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. But I do think that whatever you're doing, you need to apply the 10% rule. So if you're looking to increase the distance, so to run more volume overall during the week, then don't increase that total mileage or distance overall by more than 10%. Similarly, your longest run, don't increase by more than 10%. And by doing more running, then you're likely to get faster. But my gut instinct would be to advise people to focus on one thing and not kind of half-arse it, basically. So if you were trying to run a 5K or a 10K PB or whatever distance it might be, then focus on maintaining a similar volume of training. If you're already a relatively experienced runner, I don't think that running loads more is going to be the answer, but training smarter. So mixing up the distances and the paces a lot more. So a lot of runners make the mistake of just doing everything at a very similar pace or having very small pace variations between even their intervals and then their easy runs. Like your recovery runs can be really slow as long as you're not kind of compromising your mechanics. To give an example of the range, I appreciate these numbers aren't that relatable to everybody, but when I was running properly at a professional level, my easy runs, I would start them at probably like 8-minute miling.
God, so slow.
Well, but relatively my race pace was under 4-minute miling.
Yeah.
And then my intervals were being run at somewhere between 4-minute and 4:30 miling. And then my steady runs would be around 6-minute miling. And my threshold runs were like 5-minute miling. So quite nice kind of 4, 5, 6, 7 from kind of intervals through to threshold, steady, and then easy runs. But that's, almost twice as slow.
Yeah.
So a massive range there, whereas loads of people, it's their easy run pace is so close to their race pace that they don't really have anywhere to go.
Yeah, I've definitely been guilty of that, especially if you're not running, like when you were competing professionally, you were doing a lot of double days. So you're getting a lot of different runs in, so then you can get all of those different variations. But even if you're only running 3 times a week, you still need to have those big gaps in order to see benefit. One thing that I would say on this is that it can be really tempting when you go from maybe 5K to 10K to just double what your 5K time is and then aim towards that. But that is actually going to be really hard. Like, for example, this year I set a new 5K PB of, last year now, 21:22.
Show off.
She is, isn't she?
Yeah. Outrageous.
I'm not. I'm just saying numbers.
There's me talking about being a professional athlete and then calling you a show off. What a dick.
That's just my time. But anyway, I ran that time. Then I started training for a 10K PB and I didn't aim for maths 42, 44.
Nice.
I aimed for sub 45, which is like quite a big jump up, but actually that was really tough. And the first time I attempted that, I was 12 seconds off.
Yeah, when you say it out loud, it's obvious, right? You can't just run twice as far at the same pace.
Yeah, but I think it is very easy. Like when the first time I ran a sub 30-minute 5K, I was like, brilliant, double it, sub 1 hour 10K, here I come. Yeah. And that is absolutely not necessarily going to be the case.
No, I think you just need to be sensible with the goals that you set. And you can test yourself out by going out and thinking, I think I can run whatever time it is, whatever pace it is for 5K. Go and do 1K at that effort and see how you go. And if it's just totally unrealistic to run it once, you obviously can't run it for 5. Okay, I think that might wrap that question up. Rick, have we got another one?
Yeah, okay, so the next question today is from Cleona Malone, and she asks us, Are super shoes worth it for the average runner?
Oh, I love this question because 2 years ago, super shoes were like this thing that some people had that not that many people had. Whereas now, super shoes are everywhere, but not everyone necessarily understands what they're for. For example, I saw on Instagram yesterday that Helen Skelton, who's currently in the Strictly Come Dancing tour.
Yeah.
I love her. She's amazing.
Yeah, I love Strictly. My daughter is obsessed. That just gives me an excuse to watch it.
Yeah, Andy loves it.
It's fine to watch Strictly.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't need permission, Andy.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Anyway, super shoes.
She was wearing Nike Vaporflies at rehearsals for the tour.
Oh, that makes no sense to me. I think unless she's trying to get some kind of height advantage because she's gaining 4 centimeters there. They're quite wobbly. They're definitely not designed for dancing. Not that I'm very good at dancing, so I don't know what but they sometimes can feel hard enough to run in unless you're running in a straight line. So,
but I think it is like I know when I first started looking at trainers, it is a minefield. There are so many out there, and it can quite often kind of just appear that, okay, well, when you step up in price, that means you're getting the best option. But actually now there's different shoes for each session, which is important to think about. So firstly, if you're only training in one pair of shoes and you only want to own one pair of running shoes, don't get a carbon plate.
Yeah, they're expensive and they don't last very long, and they're not designed for you to do all of your runs in. They're designed to help you to run a faster time. And I think the answer to the question is, are they worth it for the average runner? If you want to run faster and you can afford it, then yes.
Yeah.
Like finding the right ones for you is important because each of the carbon plates has slightly different shape. Each of the shoe brands uses a slightly different compound of foam, so they'll feel, and they fit differently, whether they're narrow or wide. Some of them feel more responsive. Some of them that I've tried feel great for me at a kind of 5K pace, but terrible for me any slower than that. Whereas others are the opposite. They feel great at maybe my threshold running pace, but terrible when I try and run faster. So I have the luxury of testing lots of different ones. Rick's looking like he's got a question.
No, I was just thinking, how much have you got to spend to get a really decent super shoe, or is it basically they're all they all kick in at a decent level? Or is it? Yeah. It's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, you're definitely looking at more than £150, and that's the relatively cheap ones. You can pick ones up that are in the sale from the previous year that'll be priced around there, and that's what a lot of people like to do. And in the start line, along a lot of the elite start lines, you generally do see the Nike shoes kind of proliferating there. That they're like the ones that are dominating, whereas there are all these other brands, and each brand also then has a sub-elite shoe which maybe doesn't use a carbon plate, it has like a nylon plate, and it's slightly cheaper. But ultimately, Sarah said it already, if you've got one pair of shoes for everything, it shouldn't be a carbon plate. They'll wear out too fast, they're not supportive enough, and you don't need them. If you can afford it and you want to run faster, then a pair of super shoes will definitely help you.
And they should be for your interval sessions. Definitely use them in training.
Yeah, because they make you run a bit differently, don't they?
Yeah, because one, like, you are going to feel, they will make the first time you wear them, you'll feel it in your calves. But also they're great for recovery as well. So they are a great training tool. A lot of elites use them, but elites don't train in carbon plates every single run either. Like Rose Harvey wears her carbons for her interval sessions each week so that she can practice in the shoes, run a bit faster, but also her legs can recover. And then when she swaps into other shoes without carbon plates, she's ready to go, but she's also not putting that kind of strain through her body. And then she races, does all of her marathons in carbon plate shoes.
Yeah, and obviously she's a luxury of being a sponsored athlete, so she has a whole range of shoes to choose from. But yeah, I would broadly say, if you can, then having a pair of shoes that you do your kind of normal runs in, and then a pair of shoes that you do faster running in is like a good starting point. And I think we could spend an entire podcast talking about super shoes. The shoe geek in me would love to do that. So if there's enough demand, podcast@therunningchannel.com, let us know, and what kind of questions about the super shoes that you might like to answer. I'm desperate that you say, yes, please do a whole episode on super shoes, because I'm such a nerd.
Yeah, we have run in them, we have tested them, we've even chopped them up, as you can see behind us. So we know a lot. So if you have any questions, then please do send them through. But on that note, thanks for listening. We've made it. We got the whole way through a podcast.
I can't believe it. I think Rick's pushed the right buttons.
I just hope it recorded.
Well, yeah, I mean, let everyone in behind the curtain a little bit. This is actually the second time that we've recorded this podcast in its entirety. Wasn't Rick's fault.
Honest.
We just haven't told him it's his fault. But if you have enjoyed it, please do subscribe and give us a rate and a review wherever you get your podcasts, mainly to boost Andy's ego, but also just for a bit of feedback to know how we've got on. And we'll see you next time.